All right, we will get started in about 3 minutes for everybody that's come in and joined. I'm just going to connect live to Facebook in 2 minutes so people can see it from our Facebook page, and we'll start right at 11 so everybody can get back to their day. All right, I'm going to connect this live to Facebook and we'll get going. All right, looks like it's right around 11 o'clock, so we will get started. Probably get some more people to join as we go here. But thank you for taking the time out of your day to spend 30 minutes with us learning how to perform these life-saving skills. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Mike Papali. I am the president of In a Heartbeat. In a Heartbeat is a Connecticut-based nonprofit organization with the mission to prevent death from sudden cardiac arrest and hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So what we do is we buy and donate AEDs. We also provide CPR and AED training, certification classes. Obviously, when we donate an AED, we do not want the people there not prepared in how to use it. We also raise and donate money for hypertrophic cardiomyopathy research projects, projects that focus specifically on the disease, treatment of the disease, genetics behind the disease, and helping patients live a normal life. We have support programs for heart disease patients, cardiac arrest survivors, patients living with an implanted defibrillator and their families. And we have a cardiac screening program where we offer free EKGs to children, teens, and young adults, which we just launched. Our first screening was scheduled for May 2nd, but unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to reschedule. So as soon as we are able, we will reschedule that event. And we had about 70 kids signed up ready to get a free EKG. So we want to make sure we offer that service to them and more kids going forward. So just to give everybody an idea of how this is going to work today. So it's going to be a 30-minute session. I know everybody's kind of in the middle of their workday. We're going to kind of focus on three things. We're going to focus on first, scene safety and assessment, how to know if somebody needs CPR, how to recognize a cardiac arrest. Then we're going to focus on hands-only CPR. We're also going to talk about an AED at the end, and then we'll kind of bring it all together. So the way we'll work with questions, if I'm going to try to cover as much information as I possibly can in 30 minutes. At the end, if there's information that you have questions about, scenarios that you have questions about, if you're watching live on Zoom, you can put your questions in the chat, and I'll grab the computer at the end, and I will answer the questions. If you're watching live on Facebook, the easiest thing probably will be to just leave a question in the comment section. And once this ends and we have it up there on Facebook, I'll go back through the comments and answer all the questions. So other than that, I think the last thing I'll let you know is the reason why I'm teaching this, and the reason, the story behind In a Heartbeat. I am a sudden cardiac arrest survivor. I went into cardiac arrest when I was 17. Had no idea I had something wrong with my heart. I do have hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. It's a genetic condition that did not show itself until the day of my cardiac arrest. So, you know, that's how my family and my friends and I got into doing this work. So yeah, other than that, again, if you have questions, leave them in the comments, and we'll get started. Yeah, so first of all, you know, it's really good that you're here, that you're taking this 30 minutes out of your day to learn these skills. Sudden cardiac arrest happens 365,000 times a year out of the hospital. And the survival rate for sudden cardiac arrest is less than 10% still. So the only way to survive sudden cardiac arrest is immediate CPR and to be quickly shocked by an AED. A lot of us right now are forced to be home. And a scary statistic is that 70% of sudden cardiac arrests do happen at home. So there are things you can't be doing while most of us don't have an AED. Where if somebody something did happen at home, there are things you can do to help that person and make sure they have the best chance of survival. So okay, so first part of this is recognizing if someone's in cardiac arrest. What do you do? How do you know? And kind of the whole scene safety and assessment, and take control of the situation. So the first portion that we always talk about is scene safety. So if someone were to collapse in front of you, again, whether if it were at home, whether it was at your place of work, if it was at the gym, if it was out somewhere in the community, your natural reaction would be just to kind of just run and help that person. But we always remind people, you want to take a second and make sure that that scene is safe for you to enter. You know, it doesn't help anybody if you're putting yourself in danger, and now not only do we have one person that's down, we have multiple. So, you know, some simple things. The example we always tend to use when we teach these classes is, you know, if somebody was doing some electrical work and there was a live wire hanging down because that person just got electrocuted, you don't want to run in and accidentally touch a live wire, because then you would get electrocuted. So just a simple look to the left, look to the right, look up, take a minute and think, okay, what caused this person to go down? Is it safe for me to enter? And if it's safe, okay, I'm gonna go help. So obviously we're gonna assume today that the scene is safe, and from there, you know, you run in and you're gonna help the person. So a person collapses, they're on, you know, hopefully on their back. If they're not on their back and you don't suspect neck injury, you want to turn them onto their back, because you need to be giving your CPR with the person laying on their back, preferably on a hard surface. So obviously we set this up so it's you know, the person's on their back, they're on the floor, and the first thing you want to do is you want to try to get a physical response or a verbal response from the person. So someone in cardiac arrest is going to be completely unresponsive. You know, they might show like a couple symptoms. They might get wobbly, they might be dizzy, they might complain of something really quick, but sudden cardiac arrest happens immediately. And the person that's in cardiac arrest is immediately unresponsive. So in order to see if someone is responsive, you're going to do two things. You're going to try to get a physical response by hitting them on their shoulders, and they're going to try to get a verbal response by yelling, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" So again, scene is safe. I kneel down on the side of the person and I tap and shout, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I'm trying to see if that person reacts. I'm trying to see if that person reacts to me hitting them. I'm trying to see if that person responds to me yelling at them. Someone in sudden cardiac arrest is going to be completely unresponsive. They're not going to respond to anything that you do to them. Okay. The next step is you want to yell for help, right? Unfortunately, if we're home and we're by ourselves, we might not have that option. But say we're at the grocery store, someone collapses in an aisle, you want to yell for help, because the more people you have around, you can assign people different jobs, and you have more people, you know, that are that are acting to try to give this person a chance of surviving. So if you have people around, you want to give out 3 jobs. And I'm gonna list the 3, and then I'm gonna talk about each 3 individually. The first thing is you want somebody to call 911. The second thing you want is you want to tell somebody to go get an AED and bring it back. And then the third thing you want to do is you want to tell somebody to go outside and wave down the ambulance. Okay, I'll start with calling 911. If you are alone, most of us do have cell phones, so we can, call 911 on our cell phone. We can put it on speaker mode, and we can put the phone next to the head. And people that are the dispatchers, most of them now, they will give instruction. So they're going to ask kind of what is going on. Male, female, approximate age. You want to make sure it's clear that you suspect it's sudden cardiac arrest. The person is not breathing, they're not responding. So, and they will ask you, are you comfortable giving CPR? And if you say yes, they're actually going to walk you through it. And they're going to tell you where to put your hands. They're going to tell you to count out loud so they can kind of keep your mind at ease, because naturally you probably are going to be freaking out a little bit if this is happening. So that's the first thing, call 911. Another thing about calling 911, what's going to happen is they're going to come on, they're going to ask you your location, and they're going to dispatch an ambulance. After they dispatch the ambulance, they're going to come back on and they're going to talk to you, and they're going to ask you questions. Okay, don't think that these questions that they're asking you is delaying the arrival of that ambulance. Okay, they've dispatched the ambulance and they're relaying all this information to the EMTs that are in the ambulance, so that they can kind of go into the situation with as much information as possible with the equipment they need to give this person the best possible chance of surviving. Okay, so let's call 911. Second is go get the AED. Okay, if you're in a grocery store, if you're at the gym, these AEDs are in a lot of public places. Tell someone to go get it and tell someone to bring it back to you. Third thing is you want to tell someone to go outside and wave down the ambulance. They have GPS, they know where they're going, but say they're going to a neighborhood where the numbers on the houses aren't that big. If you have someone out there waving down the ambulance, it might save a minute or two from the ambulance having to read every single number on the house. Or if you're at work, and your work has multiple entrances, and something happens by the back entrance rather than the front entrance, you have somebody outside waving down the ambulance saying, hey, go around the building, there's somebody there with the door propped open, go in that back entrance. That could be a minute or two of saved time, and that could be the difference of someone surviving and not surviving. So when you're doing this, you want to make it clear who's doing what. Okay, so don't just yell, somebody call 911, someone go get an AED. Okay, point. Use names if you know them. Hey, you call 911. You go get an AED. You go outside, wave down the ambulance. Take control, give people direction. Because if you just kind of say, oh, somebody call 911, someone go get an AED, chances are nobody's going to do it. So you want to make sure you're the responder here. You take control of the situation. You give people jobs. Make sure it's clear that they know what they're doing. Okay, and the last step before we're going to start performing CPR is we check for breathing. Okay, there's a couple ways we can do this. If someone's laying flat on their back, you look for chest rise, right? You'll see the chest going up and down when someone's breathing. If someone's wearing, in the winter here in the Northeast, a lot of people wear big puffy jackets. So chest rise might not be as obvious. You might not be able to see it. So you can actually just put your hand on the lower part of the breastbone and feel for it. Or you could put your hand over the mouth and nose and feel for warm air coming out. Okay? And if warm air is coming out of the nose, the person's breathing. But one thing that's very common with sudden cardiac arrest, when we say we're looking for breathing, we're looking for 100% completely normal breathing. So we don't want to sit there for a second and for minutes and try to question ourselves. Okay, that seemed normal. That wasn't normal. A very common symptom with sudden cardiac arrest is agonal gasping. And agonal gasping is not normal breathing. It's a sign that someone's in sudden cardiac arrest and they need CPR. So agonal gasping is basically like a long, drawn-out breath, a snore, snort, groan. So, signs that the person, the body is trying to get oxygen and can't get it. So again, if you see this on a person, you need to immediately start performing CPR. And the one thing that the American Heart Association and when we do these classes that's changed in the last 10 years is they want to make this as simple as possible, right? For the lay rescuer or someone that isn't a medical professional, make a quick determination. Is the person breathing? Are they not? And if they're not, I'm going to start performing CPR. Okay, so I'm going to run through that really quick, just to give a quick recap. So first of all, scene of safety, I look side to side, safe. I look side to side, I look up. Scene of safe, I go in, I tap and shout, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Person's unresponsive. "Help, help, I need some help." You call 911, you will get an AED. You go wait down the ambulance. Okay, I check for breathing. Person's not breathing. I bare the chest and I'm ready to do my chest compressions. Okay, so that's the first step. And just to give a quick, just to talk quickly about infants, children, and adults, a lot of the steps are the same. That's the same for a child. That's the same for an adult. The only difference on an infant would be they say if you tap infants at their feet, they're more sensitive. So they might be more responsive by tapping them at their feet. It is much more rare for a young child and a infant to go into cardiac arrest. It definitely does happen, but it is rarer than it is for an adult. So usually you start seeing cardiac arrest. Unfortunately, we read about them as young as it can be 3 years old, even younger. But a lot of times it's in that age of puberty, 16, 17, and then once in a while you hear like the 12 to 16 range too. But so it really can't happen to anybody. But that's just an idea. And again, if you have questions on the differences between child, infant, and adult, and I don't cover them, you can feel free to leave them in the comments. So the next section that we're going to talk about is our CPR. So CPR is made up of two parts, giving compressions and giving breath. We're not going to talk about giving breath today, just for the sake of time, and because chest compressions are the most important part of the CPR. So there's been a big emphasis on hands-only CPR in the last 5 or 6 years. And the reason for that is because not everybody is comfortable giving breath. And that is completely fine. It's completely normal. And the reason why you might not be comfortable giving breath is because if you were out taking a walk and somebody collapsed and you had no idea who this person was, and you don't have a barrier device, especially with the times that we're living in right now, you probably don't want to give bare mouth to mouth on somebody that you don't know. And that is completely fine. Another scenario could be if someone collapsed and they hit their mouth on something as they were falling and now they're bleeding from the mouth. You're not going to want to put your mouth on their mouth unless you have a CPR mask or a face shield, something that's protecting you. And the reason why there's been this huge emphasis on hands-only CPR is because before that, people felt that if they weren't capable of giving breath, they thought that they couldn't help. They said, I can't give mouth to mouth. I don't know this person. I'm not comfortable giving mouth to mouth. I can't help this person. And that is completely wrong. Okay. You can help the person by just doing compressions. And that's why we talk a ton about hands-only CPR. Okay. So just to give you a quick idea, when you are giving your chest compressions, you want to go hard and fast. That's the best way to think about it. I know people talk about the song "Staying Alive," the beat of that song. The scientific rate, they say, is you want to do 100 to 120 compressions per minute. If you are giving breath, the ratio is 30 compressions to 2 breaths. If you're not giving breath, you do straight chest compressions and you don't stop until an AED arrives or until an ambulance arrives. So I'll go through kind of where to put your hands and how to give a chest compression. But again, the key is go hard and fast. The only thing you want to make sure is you get a full recoil in the chest. So you push the chest down and you let the chest come all the way back up before you push it down again. And that's really the only thing you need to worry about. A couple questions that people ask, does the chest need to be bare? We tell people you want to bare the chest for CPR because you want to make sure you're putting your hands in the right place. The chest needs to be bare for when the AED arrives anyway. So when you're doing your scene safety and assessment and you determine that this person's in cardiac arrest, you need to bare the chest. And that's for males and females. That question does come up often, for the sake of privacy. But somebody that's in cardiac arrest, they're clinically dead. And there's some things that can happen when you're doing chest compressions that you might question whether or not you're doing something correct or incorrect. You could break a rib. If you could hear it cracking. It could get flimsier where you're pressing down. And the big thing is that don't think that you did something wrong. You did by giving chest compressions, you're giving the person the best possible chance of surviving. But if you start doing chest compressions and you stop, you're really not giving that person a chance. So I'm going to go through the chest compressions really quick. So the key to a chest compression, okay, is you're going to get tired, right? They get tiring really quickly. So you want to use as much of your body as you can. You don't want to be just using your arms because the more tired you get, naturally the chest compressions are going to become less effective. So if you can stay fresh, if you can use your whole body, you can make these compressions stay as effective as possible. So I want to have a knee at the shoulder, a knee at the waist, okay? I want to be really close to the person, right? Because if I'm far away, if the person was, way out in front of me, I'm pushing forward now, not pushing straight down. So I want to be really close to the side of the person. I have my knee at the shoulder, knee at the waist. We're pretending this AED isn't here yet. I take one hand and I put it right in the center of the chest. Easiest way to find it is go right on the nipple line. Another way you can find it is everybody has a notch in your chest here. You see on the mannequin, it's got this notch right here. All right, you want to go like 3 fingers above that. That's your xiphoid. So if you go 3 fingers above that notch, it's going to put you right in the center of the chest. That's an easy way to figure out where you want to put your hands. So the palm of one hand goes right in the center of the chest. Doesn't matter which hand, you go with whatever you're comfortable doing. I'm left-handed. I prefer to put my right hand down. Okay. Your other hand goes on top. You can interlock or you can place it on top. Okay. And you're pushing straight down again at a rate of 100 to 120 compressions per minute. Okay. You see my elbows are locked in. Okay. And I'm pushing straight down at a rate of 100 to 120 compressions per minute. Okay. We suggest you can count out loud. It'll help you keep your rate. It helps you keep your rhythm. Okay. It helps you breathe. And if you are giving breath, you know when you hit 30. Okay. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. I'm going to stop there just so we can keep going. But again, if you are giving your hands only CPR, you're going until an AED arrives or until EMS arrives. If you're giving breath, you're going 28, 29, 30, breath, back to your 30 compressions. 30 compressions, 2 breaths, back and forth. Couple differences here between infants, child, and adults. Infants, you're using the same landmark, but you're using 2 fingers. You're going 2 fingers in the center of the chest. That's an infant ages 0 to 1. Really small children, you bare the chest, you can see the full rib cage. They're just really small. The suggestion is you can start with one hand, but this is a complete feel thing. I'll show this really quick. So if you have a smaller child here and you're down and you're using one hand, you're just not going quite as deep, okay, which is what they say. Instead of going 2 to 2.5 inches, you want to go just 2 inches on a child. And you just feel yourself getting tired or you feel like you're not strong enough. You just add your second hand. Again, you're better off going too deep and too fast rather than not deep enough and not fast enough. Okay, so those are the chest compressions. Again, if you have questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section down there because I am flying through this to get everybody back to their days at right around 11:30. So the next portion we're going to talk about here is the AED. Okay, so this AED I have here is a training model of an AED made by the FibTech. So a regular AED looks the exact same as this, made by the FibTech, except in where it's red here and the top and the sides, it's black on a regular AED. So there's about 4 or 5 different AED manufacturers out there. They all do the same thing. They all talk to you once they are turned on. And the big myth of AEDs is, well, what if I hurt somebody by shocking somebody that doesn't need to be shocked? You cannot hurt somebody with an AED. And the example I use when I do my classes is, if you took an AED right now off the wall and you put it on me, you turned it on, you put the pads on me, you would not be able to shock me because the AED can read heart rhythms and it can determine if someone has a shockable rhythm or if somebody has a normal rhythm. So you cannot hurt somebody with an AED. And that's a common misconception so many people have. All right, the key to the AED is that it's used as quickly as absolutely possible. So statistically, if somebody is shocked within 1 minute, they have a 90% chance of surviving. And each minute after, without being shocked by a defibrillator, those chances drop 10%. So after 5 minutes, you're looking at a 50% chance survival rate. And every situation is different. Some people, can last longer. Some people can't. It all depends on a lot of different factors. But statistically, those are the numbers. So with that being said, if you're in a situation where, say we're back to work, things are normal, you're at the office, it's late at night, you're working on a project with a coworker, and you're walking out the door, and the coworker just goes down, and you assess them, and it's cardiac arrest. There's nobody around, so you can't yell help because you can yell help, but nobody's going to come because nobody's around. You know that your office has an AED. It's right down the hall. You know it's there. You're going to assess them, cardiac arrest. You're going to call 911 because you always want to activate, EMS. And then you're going to run and get that AED and shock them right away. You're not going to sit there and say, okay, let me perform a couple cycles of CPR. Then after a couple minutes, I'm going to go get the AED. I'm going to come back and I'm going to use it. If you're in a situation where you know there's an AED on the wall, somewhere in the building you are, and nobody's around to help you, you don't have somebody to go call 911. You don't have somebody to go get the AED. You don't have somebody to go outside and wave down an ambulance. You're by yourself. You're going to get that AED and you're shocking them as quickly as you possibly can. And you're going to do your CPR after, which we'll talk about. Okay, so again, and I hope that's clear because I obviously if you're in a situation where you have multiple people around, one's doing CPR, one's calling 911, one's getting the AED, one's outside waiting for the ambulance, that's ideal. But not every situation is ideal. And this person needs to get shocked as quickly as possible. So you'll hear, I'm going to run through this cycle. You're going to hear it. You turn it on. It's going to walk you through step by step. So if you had no knowledge of this AED and you went and you felt like you needed one, and all you have to do is turn it on. That's the biggest thing to remember. Turn on the AED and it will talk to you. Okay, so I'm going to run through it. I'm not going to say a lot other than going through it because I want you to be able to hear the machine. And once it ends, I'll kind of come back on and explain a few different scenarios and things that can come up with the AED. So first thing, okay, you're down here, you're doing your chest compressions. Okay, the AED is not here yet. The AED arrives, somebody brings it to you. One of two things is going to happen. The person that brings you the AED, maybe they have training on it. So maybe as you're doing your chest compressions, you're down here. This person can set up the AED while you're doing this. Okay, they can turn it on. They can set up the AED, and the AED is going to tell you to stand clear. As soon as it says that, you back up. So that's ideal, right? Maybe you get 6, 7, 8 more chest compressions in while this person's setting up the AED. That's good. That helps. The other scenario is this. The person shows up, they have the AED, and they look like they have no idea what to do with it. If that's the case, and they're not comfortable, they're freaking out, whatever the situation is, you need to stop doing chest compressions. You need to take the AED from them, and you need to use it. So even if you're giving breath and you're on compression 16, if that person isn't comfortable setting up the AED, take it from them and set it up. Okay, so again, I'm going to run through it. Okay, so I'm going to turn it on, and it's going to talk to me.
Training mode. Call for help. Remove pads from package in back of unit. Apply pads
are in the
to
back.
patient's bare chest as shown. Apply pads to patient's bare chest as shown. Apply pads to patient's bare chest as shown. Apply pads to patient's bare chest as shown.
Pads are not as sticky as regular pads are, but you can see.
Apply
pads are on.
To patient's bare chest as shown.
It's going to keep telling me till I do it.
Analyzing heart rhythm. Do not touch the patient.
Okay, everybody clear.
Shock advised. Charging. Stand clear.
Everybody clear?
Press flashing
okay,
shock
it's ready to shock. The button, you might not be able to see it just because of the glare, but it's shocking. It's flashing at me. Okay.
Shock 1 delivered. It is safe to touch the patient. Begin CPR now.
Okay. And you hear a beat. That beat is the beat I'm doing my CPR at.
Continue.
And it's going to have me do this, and I'm not going to let it run the whole time for 2 minutes.
Continue for 1 minute, 45 seconds.
Okay, I'm going to turn it off there and talk about it. Okay, so basically the AED works in cycles. Okay, so it's going to run you through. You heard it. It gives me all the instructions. It determines it needs a shock. Okay, it says, anytime it says stand clear, okay, I'm using my arms, I'm backing everybody up. It delivers its shock, and then you go back and you start performing CPR again. It does this for 2 minutes. You do 2 minutes, which is about 5 cycles of CPR, and then after 2 minutes, you'll hear it'll count you down. Continue CPR for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stand clear. Stand clear. Everybody's off. Analyzing heart rhythm. Maybe a second shock is needed. It determines a second shock is needed. It delivers a shock. Back to your compressions. 2 minutes goes by. It'll count you down. Clear. Determines if a third shock is needed. And it's going to keep going in that 2-minute cycle. Okay. So a couple things about it. So number one, why do we tell people to stand clear? If somebody knows the person that's collapsed, this is going to be very traumatic for them. Watching somebody that they love down on the ground, you working on them by the chest and head, they're probably down by the feet holding on. You need to back them up. You don't want them, when the machine's analyzing, you want the machine to analyze as quickly as possible. Okay. And secondly, when you hit shock, if somebody's holding on to the feet, they could feel a piece of that shock. And it's going to hurt them. Like it's not going to feel good. It's not going to kill them, but it's going to hurt them. They're going to have to eventually go to the hospital. But you want to avoid that. You want to get that person back. You want, the electricity should be completely absorbed by the person that needs it. Okay. And that's why you see the AEDs right next to the head. It's on the side of the head that I was working on. It wasn't across the body. Right. When I hit the shock button, I don't want to have to reach across the body. And maybe I accidentally bump my forearm on the nose, and now I get shocked. So you want to have the AED right next to you, right where you're working. Okay. A couple things. We don't want to turn the AED off, and we don't want to take the pads off. You saw I was having a little trouble sticking the pads on just because I use them a ton. Regular AED, the pads have Gorilla Glue on them. They're not going to peel off like they do. You can see now they're kind of like coming up. It won't do that. Okay, with the AED, most AEDs should come with a ready kit that includes a CPR mask, razors, scissors, wipes, gloves. CPR mask, if you're not giving breath because you're not comfortable, because you don't have a barrier device, there's your barrier device. Razor, for someone that has a really hairy chest, the pads go, one on the right side under the collarbone, other one on the left side under the armpit. If someone has a really hairy chest, you could touch up that area real quick just to make sure the pads stick down. Wipes, if somebody was sweating maybe, or if somebody is damp because it's they just got out of the pool, something like that, you might want to wipe down the area where the pads go just so they stick better. Gloves are just for your personal protective equipment. And scissors. Okay, so if someone is wearing a shirt like the one I'm wearing right now that you can't just rip open, you're doing your CPR, you probably have the shirt pulled up, but if you get the scissors, you can just cut that shirt right up the middle and open it up. Also for females that are wearing a bra, it's an easy way to just cut the bra and slide the straps out of the way, so they're out of the way when placing the pads. Some things that could happen. If someone's underwater, they do need to be removed from the water if they were like in a pool. If someone's in a small puddle, it's not going to affect anything. Again, you want to use those wipes, or maybe use your shirt. Just wipe down the area where the pads are going to go. Again, under the right side under the collarbone, left side under the armpit. And the pads do have pictures on them. They show you where they go. If someone has an implanted pacemaker or defibrillator, used either on the left side, they could be on the right side for various different reasons. If that's the case, you just don't want to put pad directly over metal. Move it to the side. Implanted defibrillators now actually are under the armpit, as where mine is, right underneath my hand. So you do see them. There's a scar there where they have to open up the skin, and it's a bump. So it's definitely going to, you're definitely going to see it. It protrudes a little bit. If someone has a port for treatment, don't put the pad directly over the port. If somebody has a medicine patch on, make sure you have gloves on. You can remove the patch, use the wipes to wipe down that area. But things you don't have to worry about. You don't have to worry about jewelry. You don't have to worry about earrings, belly button rings, any of that. You don't have to worry about. Bracelets, necklaces, tattoos. None of that stuff you have to worry about. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Again, if you have any questions that come up, throw them in the comments, and I'll get to them in a couple minutes here. But the key is, if you were to shock somebody, say you're in a, this is a good case scenario. Say someone gets shocked within 30 seconds. They might come to, they might sit up, they might be confused. You still don't want to take pads off that person. Number one, it would hurt to rip pads off someone that's conscious. They're going to go to the hospital, and the hospital can actually remove the pads in a way that they have a method that removes them without just tearing them off. But what's very common, and this actually happened to me, is the body's taking a big trauma here. It's gone into cardiac arrest. It's taken 150 joules of electricity. Even if that person is conscious, they could go back into that rhythm, that dangerous rhythm, the ventricular fibrillation. So that's why you never want to turn the machine off. You never want to take the pads off. You want to sit with that person and be with that person. Obviously, if someone's talking to you, you don't need to do CPR on them. But if this is a situation, they're still going to the hospital. So sit with them, monitor them, make sure they're okay until EMS arrives and they get into the ambulance. Other situations are different. It might take that 3-4 shocks, the cycle of good CPR to getting shocked, to good CPR to getting shocked to bring a person back. Last thing I'll say about the AED, they do make child pads. They're not quite as common as adult pads. You might only see them in organizations that primarily serve children. If you do have a child that needs to get shocked, they're unresponsive, it's cardiac arrest, but you don't have child pads, you can still use the adult pads on a child. Basically, what you would do is you would take if you think the pad, so basically what these pads are doing is they're sending electricity from one pad to the other and then back. So on a really small child, if you suspect, you put the pads on, they're going to be basically touching. What you would do is you would just take an adult pad, put it in the middle of the chest. Of course, my pad's not sticking for me. Again, this would never happen with actual pads. And then you would put the other pad in the middle of the back between the shoulder blades. And you could actually shock a child with adult pads. You would just go one in the center of the chest, one in the back between the shoulder blades. And just let EMS know that that's what you had to do, because that's all you had. That again, child in cardiac arrest needs to get shocked, even if it is with adult pads. So I know I just flew through a ton of information, and it's 11:35. And if you have questions, throw them in the chat. I'm going to grab my computer in a second. But I just want to mention again, if anything that we do within a heartbeat can help your organization, if you are affiliated with organizations that need AEDs, please do not hesitate to refer people to us. Obviously, we're not donating this second just because with everything going on, but we have AEDs ready to go that we just haven't been able to donate yet, that have homes that we just haven't been able to get to. So as soon as everything clears, we're going to kind of get back to doing what we do. If you want to see more information about what we do, we're all over social media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Our website's www.inaheartbeat.org. One cool thing that we're actually going to be announcing this week, we are hosting a virtual 5K race. So it's going to be a run or a walk, whether you're a runner or a walker. And it's a very, very minimal cost. What we're going to try to do is encourage people to get outside, encourage people to walk, work on their mental and physical health during COVID-19. We typically do host a 5K road race that we're just not going to be doing this year because of everything going on. So we moved it virtual, so anybody all over the world can participate. We have a goal that as an organization, we want to walk 500 miles. So we're hoping to get 160 people or more to do that. And information on that will be sent out soon. But if you have any questions about it, feel free to reach out at any time. I'm just going to grab my computer here because it looks like we got a couple questions. And again, if you're on Facebook and you want to ask a question, feel free to throw it in the comments. And I'm just going to read these out loud. Good question here. The question was, what about pacemakers? Do you give CPR if the person is implanted with one? The answer is 100% yes. Someone that has a pacemaker or a defibrillator, both, they need, if they're unconscious and unresponsive, they need CPR just like anybody else. They need to get shocked by an AED as well. So yes, the answer to that question is yes, you do need to do CPR, and you do need to use an AED on somebody that is somebody that, even if they have a pacemaker, if that pacemaker doesn't kick in, or if that defibrillator doesn't kick in, you're treating that person as if they didn't even have one. They're getting CPR, and they're getting shocked by an AED if one's available. I see we got Bob from Mended Hearts on here. Appreciate the comment, Bob. Good to see you. And that's the only question we had. So I thank everybody for taking time out of their day to learn these life-saving skills. Again, if you have any questions, reach out. My email is mike@inaheartbeat.org. Our website's inaheartbeat.org, and hopefully everybody's staying healthy and safe, and we'll see everybody soon, hopefully. So take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye.